Our speaker today is the recipient of the 2016 Catherine Amelia Brown Teaching Award, Associate Professor of Music, Dr. Kelly Vaneman. Dr. Vaneman, I think, is an excellent example of what the German philosopher Nietzsche meant when he said that life without music would be a mistake. Now, I usually do not associate you and Nietzsche, Kelly. That's more for Chris Vaneman. Colleagues praise her as a beloved teacher, a generous and devoted colleague, and an amazing musician who exemplifies the Converse spirit of collaboration. She is involved in Converse programs beyond the Petrie School of Music, choosing those programs that focus on student success, and also promoting the success of her faculty colleagues beyond music, including participation in the Student Success Seminars, in first-year seminars, and in the Nisbet Honors Program. One student wrote of her teaching, "Dr. Kelly Vaneman is such an engaging and fun teacher. She does an excellent job of presenting cultures and their music and inspires our appreciation of those cultures. She's never boring." Another student in a first-year seminar praised both her thoroughness and clarity as well as her charisma and enthusiasm. An advanced student noted her very enthusiastic, energetic, and positive approach, which I'm told you will see today. Please join me in welcoming to the podium the 2016 Catherine Amelia Brown Teaching Award recipient, Dr. Kelly Vaneman.
Bo, 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 bo. Doot. 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 Okay. That was fun. You guys are awesome. Yes. Thank you so much for playing along. Yeah. So, you're not done yet. Sorry to say. Because for this we have one more thing that I want you to do for this little section of what we're doing here today. I want you to think of something you just learned from this whole performance we just did, right? It can be something about yourself. It can be something about the person standing next to you. It can be something about all of us as a community. It can be musical, it can be physical, it can be psychological, it can be philosophical, or other words that start with P that shouldn't. Could be anything at all. I want you to think of something you just learned. Now, I've preloaded the deck here by asking 3 brave souls to share their answer to this question. What did you just learn? Kate Reedy. Where are you? Kate Reedy. Professor Meg Hanatominaga. And President Krista Newkirk. Okay. While the microphones are making their way to the 3 of you so you don't have to scream really loud, let me tell you a little bit about the performance that we all just created, because it's sort of a combination of 2 cultures that are separated geographically but joined historically. The first thing we did is based on a kind of African drumming they do in Western Africa, around Ghana or Cameroon, something like that. And it works just like what we just did. Every member of the ensemble has a slightly different sounding drum. Every member of the ensemble has a different rhythmic element, and they overlay it on top of each other, so you get this really cool tapestry going on. What's really amazing about this, though, is that each of the rhythms has its basis in a verbal phrase. So that if you're playing something like, you may have just said, "Let's get out of here," right? So you guys can decide what you just said. The other thing over that, we laid some good old American jazz singing. We used call and response, we used improvisation, we used some scat singing syllables, and therefore we have this wonderful performance. If we could come up with a title for it, you could all put it on your resume. World premiere, right? So, Kate Reedy, what is something you just learned?
That the confidence we were all of a sudden all able to have together. Before, I was really nervous as you started people. I'm like, oh no, please don't call on this side of the audience. But then we all got up, and as we were doing it, I just gained so much confidence of us all working together.
You know, I think somebody recently said something about we're stronger together. I seem to have heard that somewhere. Right? Good. Wonderful. Yes. Professor Meg Hanatominaga.
Hello. I learned 2 things, one of which is that the person who receives this next year has their work cut out for them. And I also sort of rethought about the word majesty.
Go on.
Well, now I have to organize that thought. We reserve the word majesty for things that are kind of stuffy, generally, and yet this was not a stuffy happenstance that we just shared. It was light and joyful and frolicky. And yet, with our collective voice, there was something majestic about it.
That is awesome. That is so awesome. I think maybe you and I could try to do something majestic together later this semester. Yes, maybe so. President Newkirk, thank you so much for playing along. I know you've got your work cut out for you these days. What's something you just learned?
Okay, well, first I learned that I may not have as good a sense of rhythm as I thought I did. But, you know, sitting in this perspective and listening to each section do what they were advised to do, that it started out simple and it became more complex as we added each group. And as it became more complex, it became more beautiful and a richer experience. And so I learned that by each person or group bringing their own aspect to it, it was just a richer and more wonderful experience and more musical.
That's awesome. That is great. Thank you. Yes. Cool. Okay, now we've got another activity. This one you can sit down for. It's a little bit more reflective, a little bit less active. I want you all to think of something you did this summer. And again, anything at all, wide open. It can be like something that was life-changing. It can be something that was habitual. Right? Everybody thinking? Something you did this summer? What I did with my summer vacation? Yeah? It's a good assignment. Now, and you probably saw this coming, think of one thing you learned from that. What is one thing that you learned? And once again, while you're thinking about this, brave souls abound in this room, and we have 3 of them for this as well. We have Miss Taylor Colquitt, Megan Speed, and Professor Melissa Walker. Okay? While they're getting their microphones, I like to talk, so I'm going to tell you a couple things I did this summer and what I learned from them, because I had an unbelievably awesome summer. Probably the most fabulous thing that I did this summer is I got to spend a week in residence at Lincoln Cathedral, which is about 2 hours north of London. Our church choir went, and we were their choir for a week. And that meant that every single night for a week, we sang the Evensong liturgy in this place that was almost 1,000 years old. And some of my very favorite Renaissance composers, by which, of course, I mean some of my very favorite things that have ever existed in this world, actually worked there. Like, their job was working at Lincoln Cathedral. And I got to step where they stepped, and I got to set where they set. And I got to sing their words and their music. And I got to learn a lot about what the past felt like. It's some of these intangible things that it's hard to put into words. I also learned how to make ketchup. This is a true story. I have a very dear friend of mine who decided she wanted to make ketchup. So we got a recipe, and we got a bunch of tomatoes, and we made ketchup. And I learned 2 things from that. One is I learned how to make ketchup. And the other thing is I learned that if you don't boil it down for a really, 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 really long time, you don't really have ketchup. You have this tomato soup that tastes kind of odd. So, Taylor Colquitt, I'm sure that you learned something else this summer as well. Go ahead and stand up. What is one thing you did and one thing you learned?
Didn't learn how to make ketchup, but I did some interesting things.
Okay.
So, is this working? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, everybody usually dreads summer classes. However, this summer I took a class with Dr. Dunn, a political violence class, and I learned how a series of films can broaden your perspective of the horrors present around the world so that it may spark appreciation and a will to help those less fortunate than yourself. I also went to a music festival this summer called Bonnaroo. It was amazing. So I learned how 40,000 people can coexist together in an environment of peace, love, unity, and respect, collectively joined by good vibes and the acceptance of differences and the appreciation of music and art. So please remove the blinders that society has given you and live your own life. Thank you.
Thank you, Taylor. That sounds I want to come hang out with you this summer.
Please do.
Let's do that. We're going to hang. Okay, Megan Speed. That's great. Can I steal that one? Great. Wonderful. I will steal that one. I know it's a C because I see it right there. Great. And Professor Melissa Walker.
Well, you know, professors learn things from their students, too. And last week I learned, and I think it's still summer because it's still over 90, by the way. And last week I learned a lot of cool stuff from my women's history class with their material culture research projects. And I think the coolest thing I learned was that the brassiere was invented in 1913 by a socialite who didn't want to wear a heavy steel-ribbed corset under her sheer dress. That wasn't the coolest part. The coolest part was that the brassiere really took off because during World War I, the federal government urged women to give up corsets and wear brassieres in order to save metal for the war effort. It's estimated that women giving up corsets saved 28,000 tons of steel.
Wow. And also now we don't have to wear corsets. I'm really glad about that. Thank you so much. And thank you to the people that gave up the corsets. So if this is a speech in the form of a song, we've already actually gotten through a couple of verse-chorus pairings. We did a thing, here's what we learned. We did another thing, or things, here's what we learned. And that means it's time for the bridge. Now, the bridge in a piece of music is where the unexpected happens. The music goes a slightly different place. The lyrics might get a little bit deep, right? You don't really know where you're going a lot of times. So here's our bridge. I spent this summer thinking about what we might do with this time together, mostly while I was walking my dog around the pond, right? Hi, Erin Templeton, walking the dog. And so one day late in the summer, I was walking my dog, and I was thinking about all this. I was like, stomping, clapping, what'd you learn? Summer vacation, catch up, what'd you learn? And all of a sudden, this realization just hit me upside the head, like realizations do. And I turned to the realization and I said, oh, no, 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 no. Realization said, oh, yes, yes, yes. Looked at the realization, I said, no way. If I go there, I'm immediately going to be the biggest nerd in a room full of college professors. Realization said, honey, you play the oboe, you watch Star Trek, you were on the math team in high school. You jumped on the ship of nerds a long time ago and sailed off into the sunset. I said, oh, fair play, we'll go there. Because really, I didn't even realize this, but here is what I had been spending my summer doing. I had been spending my summer thinking of different ways that we could learn different things. How we might learn through different experiences. One might almost say how we could go about learning through diverse experiences. They're laughing. Kevin DeLapp, what had I spent my summer thinking about?
We're thinking about our quality enhancement plan, which is Converse across boundaries, learning through diverse experiences.
Thank you for that. Yes, on the ship of nerds, sailing off into the sunset. Yes, I had spent my summer thinking about an acronym, the QEP, the Quality Enhancement Plan, Converse Across Boundaries, Learning Through Diverse Experiences. Now, as Dr. Mr. Vaneman has reminded me, this whole thing is a little bit inside baseball at the moment. So let me translate. A Quality Enhancement Plan is a really tragically boring title for something that is actually both really important and really cool. It's the idea that we come up with some way of how to learn across our community, both more broadly and more deeply, and it is so important to us that we're going to game it out over the next 10 years. Okay? There were a whole bunch of people all across our campus community that spent last year trying to figure out what this thing would be, right? You may have been involved as well and not even known it. You may have answered a survey, you may have had a discussion, you may have answered a question. And what they came up with is a couple of things. One thing that we actually really do amazingly around here, and that is teaching in our classrooms. I mean, I have sat in my colleagues' classes, I have heard them speak, I have watched their discussions, I have taken their tests. This is true. Every one of them should be right up here right now. We are so wonderful in the classroom. And we do some good stuff outside the classroom as well, but we want to do it more deliberately, more for real. We want to be able to have a broader and deeper number of experiences and deal with a broader and deeper population, people all around the world, both here at home in Spartanburg and off in countries that I can't remember what their names are because they keep redrawing the map. Right. We want to be able to converse across boundaries. We want to learn through diverse experiences. We want to be Converse across boundaries. Oh, come on. Play along. Converse across boundaries. Learning through diverse experiences. Awesome. That's great. So, this is our bridge. Converse across boundaries. Cool. Now, you'll be happy to know it's time for the final chorus. And the final chorus in any really good song does a couple of different things. One is it draws back the cool, fun bits, right? The hooks, the things that everybody hums when they leave and talks about. The other thing it does, though, is sometimes it's a little bit different than preceding choruses because of something else that happened or the direction they want your mind to go as you leave. So we actually already have something that would make a pretty good final chorus, but we've got to integrate it into our song. It's a little different this time, and don't rush. One, two, three, 1, 2, 3. Dr. Sheffron, bring us home. Standing with open arms, standing alone, watching her children down through the years, watching and keeping them safe from harm, hearing their laughter and seeing their tears. Converse, Converse, we pledge our love to thee. We'll hail the purple and the gold with love and loyalty. Alma Mahler, dear to everyone. We love you now, we love you when our college days are done.
Thank you so much for
Playing along. I believe the chorale is going to sing a final song for us about clouds.